Welcome to the hashtag Go Digital Western Cape training session on getting to grips with the basics of tech. This workshop is aimed at SMMEs or entrepreneurs who need some foundational information to take their business online. With selling online and using online services opens new markets and improves competitiveness, so businesses can grow and have a sustainable business into the future. But first you need to select the connectivity or broadband option that you're going to use and that's best suited for your business. My name is Angela Abbott and I work in the Digital Economy Unit within the Department of Economic Development and Tourism. And essentially what we do is develop and provide digital solutions to support, on the one hand, citizens with digital literacy, access to the use of technology, improving levels of work readiness so that they can participate in the economy. And on the other hand, for SMMEs and entrepreneurs to adopt digital practices and incorporate technologies into their businesses to grow and thrive. The outcome of the session is to provide some more information for your greater understanding of some general technical terms and what connectivity options are available to help you make the right choice for your business. I'll also provide some guidance on where to find more information on the topic, and just to make mention that there are other topics in this series covering many other digital related topics such as using social media, digital marketing, digital productivity tools, e-commerce, and others. So keep a lookout for those. So we know that there is a changing face of business. It has been coming for some time and has been expedited most recently, but there are many reasons for it. And one of those reasons is technology. Technology is evolving. Technology is improving the way that many businesses do business, and it's improving operations and functions so that a business runs more efficiently and more cost effectively. So there is power in digital technologies, and a business, needs to be at the cutting edge of these things to obviously stay ahead. Also, connectivity. There are more and more suppliers of connectivity coming to the market. There are more competitive plans, and there's more access, even in very remote and rural areas, to gain access to connectivity. And obviously globalization that brings down the boundaries and borders so that businesses and companies can operate and expand across very wide, vast regions and countries and markets. So these essentially have disrupted the way that we live and work. And it's important to know how this impacts you specifically in your business. And many businesses were and are still continuing to organically transform their manual, more traditional business practices to incorporate digital ways, digital means, digital technologies. Obviously, COVID-19 pandemic has really accelerated businesses towards rethinking, re-engineering, pivoting, realigning where they need to be to access the market they're trying to access so that they can survive and sustain themselves. But ultimately, business is business, and the same business principles apply, just in different ways, different methods, different means, different technologies. And I'll take the example of cash flow management. So maybe you're still doing a very manual way of keeping your books and your bookkeeping up to date, and you're writing things down in a book, or you're keeping a manual spreadsheet. Incorporating some kind of digital tool that automates that process for you can really save you a lot of money and a lot of time in the end, and obviously generate more accurate records for you going into the future. So that's just a simple example that I'm trying to bring forward to you. The other thing to be aware of is that customers' demands and needs are changing. More and more customers are online, they are browsing, they are shopping, they are accessing information, they are purchasing products, they are looking for services, they are looking for home deliveries. And is your business and can your service match that demand and need? The other thing in terms of transitioning is having that online presence. So all those customers that are online all the time globally need to know what your company offers and what you do and how they can find you and how they can access what you provide. And that is only if you have that online presence and if your brand is out there in some kind of online digital social media type platform. Digital marketing, it's just marketing and advertising using digital tools in a digital way or using social media. So have you managed to transform the way that you tell your customers about you and grow your customer base through the use of digital techniques? And then the other thing, last point just here, is that you do need to plan, think about how you will transition a traditional manual business into sort of a digital space, or your manual operations into a digital space. So it can take a bit of time depending on your type of business. You may need to rethink the kind of preparation that's required, the resources you have in place, and properly plan it out so that you have that smooth transition from your current business practices to operating in that digital online space. So let's look at some general technical terms. So the first one is the internet. So the internet is really a global computer network. Everybody links in to find out information, share information, communicate. It really is all these interconnected networks all over the globe. So network, in essence, is a collection of computers, servers, mainframes, other devices that all connect to one another and they share information and they obviously communicate electronically. And they are linked by cables, telephone lines, radio waves, satellites, fiber optics, and that kind of thing to actually be able to communicate and operate in that way. And a LAN or a local area network is really just a collection of devices in a physical location, like a building, an office building, a home, that kind of thing. And the cloud, yes, the cloud is fluffy and white in our sky, but the cloud in terms of the digital terms and technical terms is software and services that run on the internet. So instead of that running locally on your computer, it runs in the cloud. And most cloud services can be accessed through the web browser that you use, like Firefox, Google, or the others out there. And some examples of cloud services include things like your Google Drive, your Apple iCloud, Netflix, your Yahoo Mail, Dropbox, Microsoft OneDrive. And what are the advantages of the cloud is that you can access the information, your information, from a secure location on any device from anywhere. So you can access a file, make edits, you can collaborate and share with people in your team. They can do the same. You can pick up where you left off if you've left the office and you're now home. So that is really the space of the cloud. The broadband is in essence the potential volume, the speed of your internet access. It's always on and it's measured in megabits per second, Mbps. And that obviously allows the large number of messages to be communicated simultaneously. And your capacity, on the other hand, is the data that connects you. It's the volume or the capacity of the data, the size of the files. And it's measured in units of bytes. So the ratio really works about 1024. So 1024 bytes is 1 megabyte. 1024 megabytes is a gigabyte. 1024 gigabytes is a terabyte. So that is as the file size, the data size required goes up. And video content is generally the largest. So to check your file size, you can go to the properties of that saved document and you can see how large that file is and see whether you have the data and the capacity to download it where you are at that point in time. And your ISP is your internet service provider. It's a company that provides services to businesses and companies, customers, so that they can access and use the internet. So there are many out there, and there are new companies joining the ranks every day, almost on a regular basis. So some of the more common ones you would know are MTN, Vodacom, Telkom, Rain, MWeb, AfriHost, and as I said, there are many others. Right, your FNO, your fiber network owner. These are essentially the companies that lay the fiber cables in the neighborhoods, okay? And they technically rent these lines to the ISPs. And FNOs, same as your ISPs, there are many out there, and there are new ones that are accessing the market all the time, but maybe some that are more commonly known are your Frogfoot, your OpenServe, Vox, and many others. But your hardware is really the physical components of your computer and your equipment. So that's things like your monitor, your central processing unit, your mouse, your keyboard, your printer, that kind of stuff. Your software refers to the computer programs. That is the procedures, the routines, the messaging that gives your computer the instructions of what to do. So that is the software that gets loaded on your particular hardware. And then your modem is the device that receives the signal from your ISP and moves it along to your router, which is your networking device. And your router then channels your internet connection to your device. And you do get combinations where your modem and router is one device, and sometimes they are separate devices. Right, your dongle is in essence a small modem, and it has a USB port. USB is universal serial bus, and that is what connects into your PC, and you can obviously access your Wi-Fi and you become connected to the internet that way. USBs are also cables, connectors, storage devices like flash drives and hard drives, and they help connect you. They help aid communication, and they also provide the supply between the computers and your equipment. Just a note to be wary or to be careful when you are using an unknown USB, because they can tend to carry a virus, and obviously once you insert that into your device, the virus is then transferred to your equipment, and it can damage your files and create a lot of problems for you in the end. So just be careful of that. Mobile is really your cell phone. It's your mobile device. It goes where you go, and it connects to the internet either through a dongle or through the SIM card that's actually in your cell phone. And that connection is through a 3G, a 4G, or a 5G. 5G offers obviously the best speed and bandwidth, and that's the latest. That was launched last year in 2020. But that is dependent on where the 5G towers are located. So if you are using your cell phone and you are close to a 5G tower, it'll pick it up. If not, you would then need to revert to your 4G or your 3G. And Wi-Fi is your wireless network, really. And that allows your devices, laptops, desktops, mobile devices, computers, sometimes even your printers and video cameras and things like that to interface with the internet. The internet connection is actually taking place through a wireless router. How does it all fit together? Well, to be able to access the internet, you would make a choice on which internet service provider you're going to use and which connectivity option is best suited for your business needs. And I'll cover this in a little bit more detail later. That's your ADSL, your fiber, satellite, that kind of thing. They send the signal through your router and your modems, and that obviously either goes through your cable or your wireless device and through Wi-Fi to give you access to internet on your phone or your computer or your laptop. Okay, so let's have a look at the different connectivity options and some pros and cons. You may already have chosen an option, you may be looking at an option, or you may be wanting to review your current option. So let's have a look at sort of the most popular. And that is your ADSL is one of them, your asymmetric digital subscriber line. And that obviously is a data communications technology, and it transmits data over copper telephone lines. So in terms of the pros, it's reasonable value for money. There's quite a competitive market, so you can get some good deals. And potentially some of the cons or the disadvantages is that you do need a telecom line, and that can sometimes be a victim of crime in the sense that those lines are stolen, and that will interrupt your connectivity, and you obviously won't be able to operate online during that time. There can sometimes be some speed limitations, and I think in essence, it's being phased out for your more new age products like your fiber and satellite and wireless and that kind of thing. But it is still available currently. Okay, your optical fiber. So your optical fiber is the diameter of the strand of a human hair. So they're very, very fine, very, very thin, and they are bundled together. They are little silicone glass fibers, very delicate, bundled together in a fiber optic cable, and they use pulses of light to transmit the data signals. And the advantages of that is that they're able to transmit over very vast distances. There are many cables, optical fiber cables, that are laid under the sea and continue to be done so that it allows that transmission over these long distances between countries and continents and that kind of thing. It is high speed, it's pretty fast, there's value for money, there's a lot of options you can shop around, and there are also bespoke options for fiber to the home and fiber to the business. So when you are speaking to a service provider, find out what those options are and weigh up which best meets your business needs. The cons or maybe the things to look out for is you may have an initial installation cost if you don't have fiber cables in your neighborhood and that kind of thing. So just find out about that. And then obviously if there is accidental damage, it will create downtime while that damage is being repaired. Right, your fixed wireless transmits signals through the air via your radio, through radio waves and microwaves. So what you need is a small dish that's either fixed to a pole or your roof outside, and it's connected via cable to the indoor unit, and that indoor unit then has a cable with links to your device that routes the internet through to you. The advantages is the signal sent through airwaves. There's not generally any data limits. It's pretty reliable, and you can reach really remote areas, which is great. Potentially something to think about in terms of the disadvantages. It is fixed. It's not mobile. You can't take it where you go. And it does need a clear line of sight, which means that nothing can interfere with the position of the dish in receiving those radio waves. Otherwise, that will obviously impact your connection at that point. It's not always the cheapest option, but I think you need to shop around and determine that for yourself as well. Right, and then satellite. Satellite is obviously artificial bodies orbiting Earth and the planets, and they do that for one of two reasons. Either they're collecting information or they are used for communication. And to link up to a satellite, you would also need a satellite dish mounted outside your property, and then it's obviously pointed in a particular direction so it can get that signal from the satellite. The big advantage there is, again, the coverage is quite vast and wide. However, if there is a repair that's required, it can take time. So you need to be aware of that, because you can imagine it needs to be fixed, and it's out there in space, and it would impact your connectivity until those repairs are concluded. Also bear in mind that you may get slower response time during bad weather. So weather would affect your connection as well. And you also, similarly to your fixed wireless, is that your dish needs a clear line of sight. Nothing can interrupt it or be in the way in terms of receiving that signal from the satellite. The other connectivity option is obviously the cell phone, which is mobile, it's convenient, it's easy to move around, but you really need to weigh up the cost factor as well, because it may be more effective to look at one of these alternative options or a combination for your business, depending on the kind of things that you do. Okay, it is also a great idea to determine the network coverage. So there are coverage maps that show the areas that network covers, and you can either access that off the service provider's website, or you can obviously go into their store and speak to them about it, or call them, and they will be able to tell you whether your area is covered. You can even put in your address, and it'll be able to tell you what options are available at your address or in your particular suburb. And just to be aware that the fiber market, the optical fiber market, is becoming more and more competitive. So there are a lot of providers that are looking at low cost models in particular areas. So ask about those, find out more about those that might be applicable to your area. Something else I wanted to mention here was around public Wi-Fi. So the Western Cape government partnered with Neotel and SETA, the State Information and Technology Agency, in 2014 to look at providing broadband services to the public across the province. And that has been increasing year to year. These services are available at public buildings like schools and hospitals, libraries, other government buildings. And there are about 1,600 hotspots at the moment that are providing up to 100 megabits per second in terms of speed, and 6 gigabytes in terms of capacity, free per user. So that can be helpful if you are looking for some free Wi-Fi just to do some business operations, and you can access that there. You can go onto the Western Cape website to find the map and see whether there is a hotspot in your particular area. And you would just turn the Wi-Fi on your device, and the Neo hotspot will come up as an option, and you just simply select that and you connect. Just something to bear in mind is that it's not advisable to share personal confidential information over public Wi-Fi. And also just to check that you have antivirus software on your devices, so that nothing is so that you have that protection of your data. Many shopping malls, restaurants, and other public areas also offer free Wi-Fi. So have a look out for those as well, so that you can get the connection points that you need. So what should you consider when you choose the right option? So what are the things you should be looking at, thinking about? What are the questions you should be asking, so that you make sure that you have the right setup in place? So these are the previous services that I mentioned, but just to put them together and compare them. So your ADSL, we said we know that's fixed. You need a copper cable. It's declining in terms of popularity. The speed is around 40 megabits per second. So if that's okay for your business, that can work. It's also largely metro based, and it's kind of a middle of the range spend. Your fiber to the home is obviously your fiber cable. It's becoming more and more popular. You can look at anything between 100 and 200 megabits per second, and it's quite a reasonably costed option. Your fiber to the business, it might be a little more than your fiber to the home. However, you get a greater speed variety. So you need to really weigh that up because you may be needing that more in your business. The satellite also rising slowly, but 40 megabits per second, and it's kind of a little bit more on the higher end, and as well as your mobile data when you are comparing. So bear that in mind when you're looking at those options. And then wireless, probably sitting on a par in terms of cost with fiber to the home, but then obviously from your speed perspective, a little bit lower. It will vary from provider to provider and location to location, but this is generally just to give you a general average idea. All right, so moving on, for how much speed do I need for my business is how much data am I looking at? And really, this is, again, on average. If you're looking at sort of an hour web browsing, you could look at anything between 10 and 25 megabytes. If you're downloading a document, about 2 megabytes. If you are streaming off YouTube for 30 minutes, 175 megabytes. And if you're downloading video, depending on whether it's high definition or standard definition, you're going into the gigabyte range. So streaming a 1 hour high definition video could take as much as 2 gigabytes. So bear that in mind when you're looking at what kind of data package is best for your business. All right, we did speak about speed earlier, but just to add to that is consider the number of people that need to link up and be connected in your business, and also the type of operations that you're doing, or the type of online functions that you're going to be performing. So if there are 1 or 2 of you and you're just doing a bit of online browsing and a bit of emails and a tiny bit of research, maybe 5 megabits per second will work for you. But if you're 5 to 10 people, you're doing some video streaming, you're sharing files quite frequently, there's a lot of point of sale transactions, you potentially should be looking at around 75 megabits per second. And then obviously moving up the ranks is 15 to 20 people, a lot of server hosting, a lot of streaming, conferencing, online conferencing, and that kind of thing. 250 megabits per second is probably a better option for you. And so it goes up. So think about the things that you do in your business that would need to be online to give you some indication of the speed and data that you would need. So we've spoken about some of these already, but just to kind of pull them all together. So when you are deciding, obviously you're going to consider price. You're going to look at speed and connectivity and capacity, and you're going to look at coverage. Is that option available where you are operating your business? And some of the other things you need to look at, especially from a business perspective, is the quality of service and the service level agreement with your service provider. So how reliable is their service? Ideally, you want to have connectivity most of the time. The downtime should be very minimal, very low, because that will disrupt your business. And when you're offline, you're not able to trade and use online services. So it is important to take these into consideration and ask these questions when you're having those conversations with them. So do your homework, ask around, shop around, compare the options to see what is best for you. And just remember that you get what you pay for. So cheap is not always best. So make sure you know what you're getting yourself into and your business into, and that it meets your needs. And then also that you understand all the costs and fees that are associated with that service. So there needs to be that understanding and that transparency around these things. Something else I wanted to include here was around some of the terminology in the contracts that many of us sign when we interact with a service provider and select a service. And usually many pages in that document, a lot of fine print, and it's okay to ask the questions and okay to request that they take you through that detail. But some of the things just to highlight and look for are these that I'm putting up on the slides. And the one is your NRC, or non-recurring costs. So what are the once-off charges? It's usually charged at the beginning of the contract. It's for once-off expenses. It's usually an installation cost. Sometimes they waive it or they discount it, but look at what your contract says, or that service provider requests in terms of that non-recurring cost. Your MRC, your monthly recurring cost, is the fixed fee that you pay every month for using the service. And it's mostly paid at the start of the month, but again, will depend on the particular service provider. So make sure that you understand what that cost is and there's no surprises. The other cost that come into play is a variable charge. So some of your services are bundled in the price that you pay, and others are as and when you use them. So for instance, voice calls. So voice calls might only be calculated and charged on how you use them, how and when you use them, and then you are billed the following month for that. So that might impact that monthly fee that you pay. The term of the contract is important. How long is that term? Some are month to month, pay as you go. Some are longer, 24-month contracts. So make sure you understand how long you are locked into that particular contract. And I mentioned this previously, the service level agreement is understanding what are their guarantees, what are they going to do, what are their promises when connectivity is poor, when connectivity is down or slow, or they don't deliver on the agreed standards in the contract. What is your recourse and what kind of actions will they take? Some more terms, an AUP, an acceptable usage policy. So that will typically define what you can and cannot do with the service. So some providers will say they're not going to permit any spam emails to be sent, or they're going to restrict that in terms of your service, or downloading questionable content and that kind of thing. So just see what your contract says around that. And then your fair usage policy, or FUP, that details how much you can reasonably use the service without impacting others. So you might have limited capacity, and then they will cap you, or they will throttle it, make it slower, and until your next cap sets in. The cap is the bandwidth cap. That's the limit that you can use for the service. Some ISPs will cut the service off once you reach that cap, or others have a soft cap, or they reduce your speed. Uncapped implies there is no limit to the bandwidth usage, but of course that is subject to your AUP and your FUP. This is an example of a company in George, Cremelian, their husband and wife team, and it's just an example of a company that transitioned from a very manual traditional practice to realizing that they needed to pivot and expand their business and look at different opportunities, and by virtue of that, they needed some kind of ability to operate online and be connected and reach their customers that way. So they started off producing cleaning detergents, and they've now diversified into fogging services and PPE equipment, and even some small construction operations and opportunities and work. But really, they moved from just using their cell phones, in essence, and doing a lot of manual paper stuff to setting up their business, getting connected through fiber. They chose an uncapped option with 20 megabits per second, and they just have some basic technology in terms of their laptops and their cell phones, and obviously a printer we needed. Majority of the operations include sort of browsing online, scanning documents, some admin functions. They've even gone so far as to do a lot of their virtual or their client meetings through virtual technology like Teams and Zoom and Skype. So that obviously requires them to be connected online and doing some digital marketing and obviously branding their company and expanding their reach. And they've said that the main factors, deciding factors ultimately was around speed, price, and reliability. Right, so where to find more information on this topic and more digital topics? You can look at Jump. Jump is a free, neutral, and trusted digital support platform for SMMEs. There are many tools and resources that address most of the common challenges that businesses experience at any stage of their business development. And it's essentially a business toolkit in the palm of your hands. And there are various tools there. Just to mention a few, the Jumpstart tool is like a business health check, and it shows you where certain areas of your business are strong and where certain areas of your business need attention and what you can do to address those gaps. There are experts that share tips and give you guidance and share their stories on Jumpcast. There's a lot of tools and apps, digital tools and apps that can help you operate online. A directory and BizAssist, here's your directory of support organizations, and the Jump map is sort of also an opportunity for you to market your business and also find other support organizations and events and opportunities that are in your area. It's geo located, and events and opportunities down here, bottom left, any events and opportunities that you can become involved with that will obviously impact your business or your business knowledge and skills. You can find that here. How-to guides are short guides on pretty much every area of business, from human resources to marketing to cash flow management and that kind of thing, just to help improve those areas. And then obviously funding assist here. If you are looking for funding, you can go in here, complete the form, and potentially get auto matched to over 400 funders, and there's over 600 funding products there. There's also a new functionality coming soon, so have a look out for that with one of our partners in Santam, and that's all around financial wellness and proper business financial planning, so that you can cover those risks in your business. You can access Jump through bizjump.co.za or through the app stores, Google Play or your Apple App Store, and download it from there. You'll also receive notifications, so that's also a good way to know what's been what new resources or new opportunities are then available on the platform. So have a look out for that. There's also the Go Digital initiative, which this is a part of it. There are 23 webinars and 27 articles that you can go. They've recorded webinars, so you can play them back when it's convenient for you. And the articles are quite easy to read and short, and you can read them online or download them, and they're on various digital topics to really support small business and moving into the digital age and adopting digital technologies and business practices. So they're practical tools and tips and a lot of information there. And two particular articles that I want to highlight that are relevant to this particular topic around the tech and getting yourself online is your broadband internet choices for SMMEs and understanding cybersecurity. So those articles, go and have a look at that, and you will get some really, really valuable information for your business there. Right, so that's the session today. Thank you for listening in, and wishing you all the best into the future, and keep an eye out for the next topics in this series. Thank you very much and take care.